Everybody tap into your inner shaky. On medicine, guys. It's doing better. You might have to up the dosage. Anyway, it's shaky. Anyways, we're going to be making trees because I've been making a church build that I'm setting kind of in autumn time with a graveyard type setting. Super well explained. For a one shot my friends and I are doing. So that will be up later this month. But in the meantime, I wanted to make a video regarding how I made the trees for this. I make a lot of trees for a lot of my crafts. I made them for my Feywild build. I just recently made them for my Cathedral build. And now I'm going to be making them for my Beastlands build as well. So I thought we would do just a little tutorial on how I make them. There's a lot of different ways to make trees, so this is just my base way. I kind of want to explore different ways to do this after the video. So if you guys have any ways you'd like me to try out, let me know, because I don't know. I feel like I like this way. It serves me well. Trees look different, guys. So now it's time to make different looking trees. But anyways, let's go to step 1. I take it back, step 0 instead of step 1. I did this when I was first making trees. I don't do it so much anymore, but it can be helpful. Just have reference photos of just general trees up, the type of tree you want to make. That way you can reference it while you're making it for just the general shape that you want, and then also for the painting portion, what you want that bark to look like. But if you don't need to do this and you're just like, trees live rent-free in my mind, like I do, because fun fact about me, I started college as an environmental, I was gonna say lawyer. I was not gonna be a lawyer. Environmental science degree. And then I just went to a hotel and hospitality because I'm charismatic. And that was easier, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, we're getting off track. Let's go look at trees. First thing you're gonna need is floral wire. I don't really know what this is used for. I'm assuming to make arrangements. I don't like make floral arrangements. All I use this for is trees. But you can find it in the floral section at your local craft store. So you're gonna need aluminum foil. Honestly, if you're crafting, just have aluminum foil on hand because it's just great for texture. You're gonna need clay. Specifically, I use air dry clay, not like pottery clay, unless you want to be really intense about this. Otherwise, if you're doing that, stop watching this video now. This is not the video for you. Air dry clay. You're gonna need just paints, honestly, different browns, shades of browns, greens. You're gonna need Mod Podge, and you're going to need a wire brush to stroke through the, we'll get to that later. You'll need a wire brush, and then you need a rolling pin as well. Now step 0. Step 1, you're going to cut your floral wire into kind of, I do a longer length. If you want shorter trees, do shorter wire. It's pretty simple, but I do taller trees. So I cut off around 10 pieces. If you want thicker branches, do more pieces. If you want thinner branches, less pieces. You get the point. Just, you can always add more if you want, whatever. You're going to take those pieces and you're going to start twisting them all together to form the trunk. Then you're going to take the bottom ends and take 2 or 3 or even 1 at a time and twist them together to start forming the roots until you have them in a shape that you like. Then you go do essentially the same thing on the top as well. Just twisting them to form the branches. You can have some of these branch off as well, just as a tree would. You can use reference photos in this as well to determine how you want this to look. Step 2. Step 2, I'm gonna grab, I do thin sheets of tin foil, like thin strips. I do thin strips of tin foil, and then just start wrapping it around your trunk. Do it pretty much for every single piece. If you want for the smaller branches to leave them just as the floral wire, that's fine. Then you can kind of create an even thinner branch. But for the trunk and the bigger branches, you definitely want to put this here. This is going to create a nice texture and also make it just a bit bigger as well. Just crinkle it up. It doesn't need to be smooth. If you can manage to make it smooth, honestly, while doing this, I'm just props to you. I couldn't do that. But crinkle it up. That's what's going to give it the nice texture. You can put it on any which way. Layer it if you want. If you want, put on more if you want it to be even thicker. My trees, I keep it with a thinner trunk just so it's easier for my players to see around it as well. Step 3. Step 3, we're going to bring out your handy dandy clay. You're going to take a rolling pin and you're going to roll it out into the thin sheet. You don't necessarily need the rolling pin. It's just that would make your life 10 times easier. So I just like, you don't need to do it, but do it. If you have that, that's an option. Anyways, then you're going to just thin out the clay, and just like you did with the tinfoil, you're going to put it over the tree. I try to avoid leaving fingerprint marks in the tree since that's not really a texture you're going to see on the tree. It might happen, and if it does, don't worry, you can always go over it later. Do that. You're going to wrap every single bit. You don't want any tinfoil showing. You don't want any floral wire showing either. And then after you've done that, that's when you're going to grab your wire brush and just start dragging it, not too harshly. You don't want to poke through the clay, but just lightly enough that it's making sort of grooves along the trunk and the branches to make that tree-like texture throughout your piece. Then you're going to leave it to dry. I just usually leave mine overnight and then it's fine. I have done it where I move on to the next step with it only slightly dry. As long as when you're not moving it, it's not kind of reforming, you're good to go with the next step. I would just say leave it overnight to dry, and then the next morning, you're going to be good to go to paint. Step 4. This is the fun part. You're going to paint. You're going to get your hands messy. I'm a messy painter. my hands, you guys can see it, they just get covered in paint no matter what I do. But first, what I like to do is I like to go over with Black Magic Crafts Black Mod Podge mixture. So just 50% Mod Podge, 50% black paint. This gives it strength and you get rid of all the white spaces. So if you miss a spot later on, you're not obviously seeing the white from the clay. You're seeing the black from the first layer of paint. After you let that dry, go over with a darker brown, and then again with a lighter brown, do lighter strokes, so you're kind of accenting those raised parts. And so it gives depth more to the tree. And then the last one, I do a super light brown, and I dry brush that part on. So that really just gives highlights to the tree. I use acrylic paint, so these dry pretty fast. I just give it a couple hours and then they're dry. If you put on really like a lot, like you just make it like dripping with paint, it's obviously going to take longer. I like to just do just enough that it covers the layer beneath it. The less you put on, the longer you have to wait. So my dry brushing ones, my later layers, don't take that long at all to dry. Step 5. Step 5 is leaves. Now, I want to find a better way to do trees with leaves than this way, but for this current build that I was doing fallen leaves. So I just purchased a terrain leaf pack on the rainforest store. Rhymes with Amazon. So I just scattered fallen leaves on with spray-on glue. But if you do, I've done leaves before in the past using hot glue and moss. I did a Feywild build, so I used it's called reindeer moss, just the brighter, vibrant moss, but you can just use like darker greens or lighter greens and kind of just stretch it across for that. I want to find a more realistic way to make trees, so I'll be working on that throughout the year and just trying a bunch of different ways to do that. But that's all you need to know for how to make a tree. Like I said before, I'm going to be trying out different ways. If you guys have anything that you want me to try out, let me know in the comments below. And let me know how you think my trees turned out. I think they look cool. But I want to challenge myself and go even more ultra realistic. I feel like it's going to be extremely tedious, but it's going to look cool as But anyways, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah! Mike.
Who's Mike?
Jack. His first name, last name.
To your friend?
Mm-hmm. I talk about him like once a week.
To who?
You. During these videos. We got jokes, hey.
But she's a rapper, a comedian.
I'm a jack of all
DJ,
trades.
Content
I
creator.
really do it all.
Now
this is true. Technically, I looked it up and it was like an and I was like, that feels wrong. Like, I don't feel like I should be in but you know, it's fine.